I do not apologize for trying to speak about one of what Paul called the deep things of God, only for my inability to go deeply enough. While we see this quality in the quiet but spiritually luxuriant lives of the genuine heroes and heroines about us, the lack of it keeps so many of us straggling in the foothills and off the peaks in the adventure of full discipleship. I refer to our hesitancy and our holding back in submitting fully to the Lord and His purposes for us. This holding back is like leaving Egypt without journeying all the way to the Holy Land. Though possessed of many other fine attributes, we may still lack this one quality. Such was the case with the righteous young man who kneeled sincerely at Jesus' feet. Lacking one thing, he went away sorrowing and unsubmissive when a particularized challenge was given. Whether it is walking straightway without looking back from great possessions, or from a statusful place in the secular synagogue, or from proud but erroneous attitudes accrued over the years, or merely from fishing nets, the test is always the same. With honest, individualized introspection, each of us could name what we lack, and in my case, more than one thing. Spiritual submissiveness is so much more than bended knee or bowed head. Alas, insofar as we mind the things of the flesh, we simply cannot have the mind of Christ. It is so easy to be half-hearted, that this only produces half the growth, half the blessings, and just half a life, really, with more bud than blossom. A superficial view of this life, therefore, will not do, lest we mistakenly think of this mortal experience only as coming here to get a body, as if we were merely picking up a suit at the cleaners, or lest we casually recite how we have come here to be proved, as if a few brisk push-ups and deep knee bends would do. God allotteth unto men certain things with which we are to be content. A missing parent or limb are to be lived without, yet temper and lust are to be tamed. One's race is fixed, but his genetic endowment offers opportunity to be a careful steward. The submissive soul will be led aright, enduring some things well, and being anxiously engaged in setting other things right, while discerning the difference. Required in particular is meekness of mind, which recognizes God's perfect love of each of us and His omniscience. By acknowledging these reassuring realities and accepting that God desires our full development and true happiness, we are readied even as the learning experiences come. Such meekness requires genuine intellectual honesty, owning up to the learning experiences of the past, and listening to the Holy Ghost as He preaches to us from the pulpit of memory. As the Lord communicates with the meek and submissive, fewer decibels are required. God's counsel aligns us and conjoins us with the great realities of the universe, whereas sin empties, isolates, and separates us, finally confining us to the solitary cell of selfishness. Hence, the lonely crowd in hell. Spiritual submissiveness means community and communion. As the mind and the heart become settled, we then spend much less time deciding and much more time serving. Otherwise, the more hesitation, the less inspiration. Yielding one's heart to God signals the last stage in our spiritual development. Only then are we beginning to fully be useful to God. How can we sincerely pray to be an instrument in His hands if the instrument seeks to do the instructing? As we really begin to keep the first commandment, loving God with all thy heart, all thy might, mind, and strength, giving our time, treasure, and talent, is then finally accompanied by the fully giving of ourselves. Sometimes our holding back occurs because we lack faith, or we're too entangled with the cares of the world. Other times there is an understandable tremulousness which slows our yielding, precisely because we sense what yielding might bring. Yet we need to break free of our old selves, the provincial, constraining, and complaining selves, and become susceptible to the shaping of the Lord. But the old self goes neither gladly nor quickly. Even so, this subjection to God is really emancipation. True submissiveness greatly enlarges the soul, but without hypocrisy and guile. Submissiveness also checks our tendency to demand advance explanations of the Lord. As a perplexed yet trusting Nephi understood, I know that God loveth his children. Nevertheless, I do not know the meaning of all things. If faithful, we end up acknowledging that we are in the Lord's hands and should surrender to the Lord on his terms, not ours. It is total surrender, no negotiating. It is yielding with no preconditions. Suppose Enoch had demurred when called by the Lord. He would have gone on being a good person, serving the Lord part-time, living in a city which was a slum compared to the glorious city of Enoch. Nor would Enoch be a part of that scene of glorious greeting yet to come. Suppose Peter had not left his nets straightway. He might have become the respected president of the local Galilean Fishermen's Association. But he would not have been on the Mount of Transfiguration with Moses and Elias and heard the voice of God. One may be stripped of accustomed luxury in order that the malignant mold of materialism be removed. One may feel humiliated in order that the patina of pride be chipped away. The shaping goes on, and it is anything but merely cosmetic. The tilt of our souls in first moments is so vital. Will what follows be viewed with disdain or as having some design? Which will we do most, murmur or ponder? It is only by yielding to God that we can begin to realize his will for us. And if we truly trust God, why not yield to his loving omniscience? After all, he knows us and our possibilities much better than do we. For the faithful, what finally emerges is an understanding of things as they really are, such as the reassuring realization that we are in the Lord's hands. But brothers and sisters, we were never really anywhere else.